Hello and welcome. I'm Daniel Choy for ARIRANG News, here to give you the latest. The last two Americans in detention in North Korea are free following a visit by a top U.S. official. Seoul has welcomed the move and is urging the North to do the same for a South Korean missionary detained in the North. Our Hyun-bin starts us off.
The two Americans free from North Korea arrived safely back in the United States on Sunday, accompanied by U.S. Intelligence Chief James Clapper, who intervened on their behalf. The two, Kenneth and Matthew Todd Miller, have been doing hard labor in North Korea, and their release comes less than 3 weeks after a third American detainee was freed by Pyongyang.
Well, I think it's a wonderful day for them and their families. Obviously, we're very grateful for their safe return.
Bae, a Korean-American missionary, was arrested in North Korea in November 2012 and sentenced to 15 years of hard labor for crimes against the state. After landing in the U.S., he thanked President Barack Obama and the North Korean government for his freedom and said he appreciated the thoughts and prayers of people who supported him. Miller, who did not speak to the press, was reportedly tried on an espionage charge and had been in custody since April. CNN reported that the North Korean government issued a statement about the release, saying it had received an earnest apology for the men's actions from President Obama. According to the statement, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un ordered the release. The U.S. says Clapper's visit to North Korea was strictly for humanitarian purposes and does not signal a policy change toward a reclusive state. The release comes on the heels of a UN resolution highlighting Pyongyang's human rights violations and calling for referral to the International Criminal Court. North Korea has been on a diplomatic campaign to counter the move, but it is unclear why the communist state freed the two men at this point. The South Korean government welcomed the release of the two Americans, but urged Pyongyang to release a South Korean missionary who was detained in North Korea for spying last May.
We want the North to release our missionary Kim Jong-un on humanitarian grounds, and we want the North to actively respond to humanitarian issues between the two Koreas, including reunions for separated families.
UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon expressed his hope that the move would create positive momentum for improving relations for peace and security on the Korean Peninsula and beyond. Hyun-bin, ARIRANG News.
Meanwhile, President Park Geunhye arrived in Beijing, China, the first part of her 9-day trip that will also take her to Myanmar and Australia. On the sidelines of the APEC summit in Beijing, President Park will hold bilateral talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping, where the focus will be on the progress of Korea-China FTA negotiations. The Korea-Australia Leaders Summit will also take place in Beijing, and it's expected that President Park will meet U.S. President Barack Obama there. In Myanmar, where she will attend the ASEAN Plus 3 summit, the Korean leader will seek to strengthen ties in meetings with her counterparts from India and New Zealand. Finally, while in Brisbane, Australia for the G20, President Park plans to ask the Saudi Crown Prince to support Korean firms seeking to participate in Saudi infrastructure constructions. And the Korean government has decided where it will send a team of medical volunteers who have signed up to join the global fight against Ebola. For details, we have our Shin Se-min.
The destination has been set. Seoul is sending its medical personnel to Sierra Leone to contribute to the global battle against the deadly Ebola epidemic. The Ministries of Foreign Affairs, Health and Defense said Sunday that an advanced team of 12 officials from the three ministries will embark on a visit to the UK and Sierra Leone starting on November 13th to assess the situation for the medical team. The team, with members from 3 government agencies as well as experts from Korea International Cooperation Agency, will be visiting the British-led Ebola treatment center located in the capital of Freetown.
The team will examine treatment facilities for the coming medical team, as well as working conditions. They will also check to see if Korean medics can receive treatment at a nearby ward if they contracted the disease.
But before they arrive in West Africa, they will stop by the UK to visit their safety education facilities and discuss details on safety support system, as the United Kingdom has been providing massive aid effort to Sierra Leone. Korea and the UK are also looking to sign a memorandum of understanding on medical support as part of efforts to work together in the fight against the disease. Initially, the Korean government said it would dispatch a 10-member medical team, but that number is expected to rise. The Foreign Ministry said 145 people applied to be part of the team, including doctors, nurses, laboratory technicians, and safety managers. 40% of applicants were women. The ministry said the final group will be chosen based on their level of expertise. Shin Se-min, ARIRANG News.
Parents in Korea expressed concerns over rumors of local governments planning to stop providing financial support to kindergartens and daycare centers. Presidential Senior Economic Secretary An Jong-ba made it clear that such a scenario will not be possible. During a press briefing at the presidential office of Cheongwade this Sunday evening, An addressed the issue of local governments failing to set aside a portion of their budgets to support such policies in the past, including free school meals. An emphasized that unlike the free meal program, local governments are required by law to continue to allocate funds to continue the support system. Self-employed Koreans are falling deeper and deeper into debt. The amount of debt owed by this group increased by over $36 billion during the past 4 years. According to industry data Sunday, the amount of loans to small and mid-sized companies has declined as banks strengthened screening for corporate finance following the global financial crisis in 2008. The ratio of loans to the self-employed has escalated from 60% of corporate borrowing 4 years ago to over 90% this year. Industry insiders say the amount of debt held by the self-employed will soon outpace corporate debt if the trend continues. And it looks like low-income earners in Korea are more at risk for obesity than those with higher incomes. A recent report from the Ministry of Health and Welfare shows 34.7% of the poorest 25% of the Korean population was obese last year, compared to only 30.1% for the wealthiest 25%. Location was also a determining factor. 37% of people in rural areas were obese, while only 31.9% of urbanites were struggling with weight issues. Access to information on health, diet, and fitness programs are key factors that determine obesity between the rich and poor, according to the report. The ministry warns obesity is known to increase the risk of cervical, liver, and kidney cancers and other diseases. Local researchers are touting the development of what's called an Aerospace Reflector that stands to enhance Korea's status in the field of optical science technology. Paul Ye explains what exactly it does.
This is the locally developed observation satellite ARIRANG 3. Its high-resolution optical camera can shoot images of land with a 0.7-meter resolution. But this new high-end reflector developed by local researchers has even a better resolution of 0.5 meters, the highest level so far. The Aerospace Reflector that measures 1 meter in diameter was created just 1 year after the country began production on a reflector with a precision down to 10 nanometers.
In case of commercial satellites, there is hardly any that are bigger than 1 meter in diameter. We can say this is a world-class reflector.
A reflector is a key part that defines the resolution of a satellite camera. The larger the diameter and the more detailed the spherical surface, the clearer image it can obtain. The team reduced its weight by 20% and the use of glass by a half in order to cut the cost of launching the satellite while increasing its mobility. It's also successfully passed environmental testing that proves it can withstand the extreme temperatures of space.
From now on, all of the high-resolution satellite cameras could be made 100% domestically.
The reflector, which will be mounted onto a multi-purpose satellite to be launched in 2020, is expected to enhance Korea's status in the field of optical science technology. Paul Yi, ARIRANG News.
Shifting gears now, U.S. airstrikes destroyed a 10-vehicle Islamic State convoy near the Iraqi city of Mosul on Saturday, but it is still unclear whether the group's top commander, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, was in any of the targeted vehicles. The spokesman for the U.S. Central Command says the U.S. had reason to believe the convoy was carrying Islamic State leaders, but could not confirm if Baghdadi was one of them. A Mosul morgue official says the bodies of 50 militants were brought in after the strikes. The Islamic State controls large chunks of Iraq and Syria. Earlier on Saturday, U.S. airstrikes hit a house where senior IS officers, possibly including Baghdadi, were meeting near the western Iraqi border town of Al-Qaim. Dozens of people were killed and wounded, but Baghdadi's fate was unclear. And at the APEC CEO summit, Chinese President Xi Jinping sought to assure skeptics concerned about the Chinese economy that there is no reason to worry. The Chinese leader said the world's second largest economy is experiencing a new normal of slow growth. He was responding to endless predictions that Beijing might fail to meet its growth target of about 7.5% this year for the first time in 15 years. She said China will continue to deepen its economic reform measures to transform its export-driven economy into one that relies more on domestic consumption and demand to avoid export-dependent external risks. The Chinese president also pledged to step up overseas capital investment and made a bold prediction that China's imports will surpass $10 trillion over the next 5 years. And now the weather. The mercury will rise 10 degrees during the day on Monday following a chilly early morning. Expect lows of 4 degrees in Seoul and the surrounding areas. Cheolwon, which borders North Korea in Gangwon-do province, will dip down to as low as 2 degrees Celsius. And now let's look at the weather conditions elsewhere around the world. That's all from us. Thank you for watching, and Monday is starting, so pace yourself well.